because I assumed you looked there, and I was like, so
Yeah.
what do they have for it? I assumed you looked for it. I wasn't.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. I was just if you found it, I was basically saying if you found it, I would gonna be shocked.
Yes.
And welcome back. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience. Together, we are on a mission of dynasty domination.
Straight up.
One daydream at a time. Hey, let's vote on that. Should we keep the one daydream at a time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless if
Well,
you don't
it's more
agree,
like-
leave it in the comments.
If you ever got in a group chat or a chat with AJ, it's more like 20 daydreams at a time. But
Well, yeah, it's all daydreams. That's why this is the time of year that we love so much, man. It's a lot of hope. Speaking of hope, we got rookies. We're doing our Dynasty Rookie Madness draft.
yes,
Woo.
We
The
got
bracket.
the gurus here. I think maybe we should just start off the top here, kicking it to Christian. He got a little thing, if you want to do a little, obituary for Aaron Rodgers, a little
Oh
eulogy.
yeah. I mean, obviously, today the Rodgers news dropped that he intends to play and intends to play with the Jets. I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on it because I talk about him enough, but it's just crazy. 18 years, he's going to be gone. I wish him nothing but the best, to be honest. I don't have any issues with him. Whole situation was weird, and I think he'll legitimately do pretty well with the Jets. I'm excited for Garrett Wilson, but it's weird. It's 18 years of watching somebody just be incredible all the time. It was fun, and a lot of my favorite memories growing up are watching Aaron Rodgers play football. So I'll just never have an issue probably with him unless he does something crazy. And it's bittersweet, but all aboard the love train.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't mean to put things together, but remember how you were all gung ho about New York Jets last year? I think maybe you put this into
If he had to go somewhere,
prophesized
I'm
it.
fine with I'll be rooting for the Jets. Like obviously Packers are my team. That's who I'm going to be diehard rooting for, but I will be rooting for the Jets. Make no mistake about it. I will be a pseudo Jets fan this season because I want to see him do well, and I love all the players that the Jets drafted. Garrett Wilson is one of my favorite younger players in the league. So
Heck yeah.
just weird. But anyway, let's get into new futures.
I will. Just one more question. How many
Okay, sorry.
how many relevant jerseys do you have left?
Ooh, I've been planning like an Instagram reel where I throw them all on the ground to the "I Will Remember You" track. Because
Yeah.
there's about 8 that I got to retire. I don't know if it's 8. Adams, Zadarius Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Amari Rodgers. So 5, I think, that are obsolete. I think I got Jair and Aaron Jones left.
There you go. And Aaron Jones going to Miami, right? Right?
no.
Nope. Oh, okay.
Guess not.
53 players. Well, actually, 52 out of the 53 from their active roster last year are going to be re-signed, except for Mike Gesicki. So,
How does it feel to be Mike Gesicki?
it probably
Knowing
feels
that
great, dude.
stat?
Yeah, dude.
He's probably going to get paid.
Probably feels real nice.
Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, all right. So we're doing the rookie bracket, everybody.
Yes, sir.
And one thing I know is a win is that jersey, dude, green and white. Like you could still pull that off. You just got to get a Jet sticker and put it on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's as close as
Color
that's
in all the
fair.
green.
It's pretty
Yeah.
Or
much
the yellow, I mean.
The yellow.
Yeah.
Some green tape.
I mean that's pretty close. So
It is
you
pretty
can.
close.
There's no red. There's no blue. You're good.
That's
Buffalo,
fair.
look out, homies. But alrighty. Let's see. Someone else taking over New York now, baby. Anyway, let's see. We're gonna do it. We're doing the orange. So If you guys were with us last week, you saw the entire bracket. 4 colors. We're doing round 1 of just the orange. And I got to tell you guys, I'm a little sad that we're not doing directions because I'm going to miss the South Up map jokes this year. So just going to put that out there.
Call back.
Okay, so you guys want to go top down?
Yep. Follow along on the YouTube if you're interested.
All right. Well, obviously, this is an easy one. Jaxon Smith-Njigba has defeated the bye and proceeded to the second round. So
Bye week was coming on strong, though. He made a push there.
that's true, man. There was a staring contest. But if you get past that, you've got Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina, who I think we're all pretty familiar with, going up against Parker Washington, who is the wideout out of Penn State. And now this is an 8 and 9 matchup, so it's a little tighter than some of the other ones we're going to get into tonight. But I think that the production for Josh Downs just really blows him out of the water. So we're going to go ahead and give Josh Downs the green light to the round of 32.
Couldn't agree more.
Hell yeah. So that means, if you guys haven't watched before, we profile the losers. So as these guys get knocked out, we'll do profiles, and then at the end we'll have a lone profile for the last man standing. So to get straight into it, I drew short straw, and I got Parker Washington. That short straw is mostly because he is 5'10", 207, and as I mentioned, he's a wideout out of Penn State. So he's 20.9 years old, and Penn State was doing pretty good in the Big Ten last year. They were about 10th as far as yards per game, and he was the 12th best receiver through that. So he had 820 yards in 2021, which was his best season, and then last year he only had 611. So the things you need to know about him is he got injured. So he came into the season after that 820 yards season in 2021, and he was supposed to be the guy, but he got injured, and he missed the last 3 games of the season, and subsequently he missed the combine. So everyone's getting hype right now. Everyone's hot on these the 40 times, the workouts, the drills. Not so much for Parker Washington. So I'm not quite sure on the nature of his injury, but we're all keeping an eye on him because I think he's going to end up being a little bit of a sleeper just because of that injury affecting his draft capital. But the guy is a slot machine, man. I'm calling him the slot bot. I really enjoyed watching his film. His stats, they don't really jump off the paper. He had 3 years, an injury year and a not full rookie year because of the COVID, or I guess freshman year. So he didn't even hit 2,000 yards and didn't hit 12 touchdowns. Well, he hit 12 touchdowns. Man, I'm all over the place here. But yeah, he primarily played out of the slot. And he was really pretty effective in that role. Like I said, I liked watching his film. He is 5'10", 207, and he's built like a running back, and he really runs like a running back when he has the ball in his hands. He's always kind of cutting and changing direction, and he's got good jukes and modulates his speed. So, a lot of wide receivers get the ball, and they kind of streak with speed, or they're a little elusive. But he was kind of all over the place, making guys miss. And it was really fun to watch. But my favorite thing about him is his ability to catch the ball outside of his frame. When you're a shorter wide receiver, that's something you worry about, right? Like contested catches or high pointing and things like that. But he really overcame his small frame and was able to catch pretty much everything that went his way. He's got some of the stickiest hands in this draft class, and I'm pretty excited to see what ends up happening with him. Slot guys aren't always getting the highest pursuit in the draft, but I think he's got a potential to impress. He's got a pretty good short and intermediate route tree, and he's got really quick feet. It was kind of, when you're watching film, you kind of have to pick out the guy and see where he's at. And you could always tell where he was, number 3, because his feet were just like crazy. His release off the line of scrimmage was pretty impressive. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see if he lands somewhere where he gets some solid usage. I will say that he kind of got slowed down through contact throughout his routes, and that's something to be concerned about. And he's not a superstar as far as athleticness. But yeah, I do think that he has really good work ethic, and he's really electric. So I'm excited to see if he can get an opportunity somewhere. So thank you, Parker. You've lost in the first round, buddy.
Yeah, I'm with you at the work ethic. I think he's gonna find a really, really nice role in the NFL. I'm just, skeptical of his fantasy worth. I think he'll be a really strong like number 2 or number 3 in an offense, role player type player. It would have been really nice to see combine measurables. Obviously, hopefully he gets healthy soon and we figure out what's going on with that. But yeah, he kind of just seems like one of those players who will be a good football player, but not really a good fantasy football player.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that made me optimistic is like his production was hot and cold, but some of his biggest games were like against Ohio State and some
That's
stout
true.
competition. So we'll see.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, I can take the next spot. We've got the 5 and 12 matchup coming up. We've got Tank Bigsby versus Jonathan Mingo. Upsets they happen. I don't think one's happening here though, right? We're gonna go with Tank Bigsby over Mingo.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but I like Mingo.
Mingo is impressive. So let's get into Mingo. Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. He's 6'1", 226 pounds, 21.9 years old. Ran a 4.48 40 with a 94 burst score and a 96 speed score, if I've got that right. Yeah, 96 speed score, which is impressive for a guy that size. 6'1", 226. That's nice, especially in this draft class of like kind of smaller wide receivers. He sets himself apart. He's a bigger target. He can move. Like for a guy that big to go under 4.5, that's pretty impressive. It's like maybe not necessarily deadly home run speed, but for that size, it definitely is. It feels like he kind of needs to build up steam to get to that point, kind of like a train. But once he gets going, he's kind of unstoppable. I I would have liked his arm length to be a little longer. I found 32 inches on 32.1, which is like under 50, like right, pretty close to 50th percentile. So for like to really be like a true crazy factor, if he could have added the height and weight to like a huge catch radius, it would have made him really, really impressive. The issues, he's got a few. He's never had 1,000-yard receiving season, so that's kind of a big deal. You want to see more production. Obviously, Ole Miss wasn't the craziest passing team in the world, but still want to see a little bit more production out of that. He's a big physical guy, though, which is going to set him apart from the rest of the class. And he's got really good hands. He had an insane one-handed catch against Central Arkansas. Just look that catch up. It's crazy. Just reaching like over the top of the defender and just bringing the ball in. So I think he has a chance to really pop. He could be pretty intriguing. I do fear like if the speed doesn't translate to the NFL that the ceiling could be low, but I think it will to at least a certain point.
I think that the speed will. Dude, I really do like this guy, but I won't talk too much about him. I won't argue with you either. I'll just wait for him to fall to me in the mini drafts. I'll see if the NFL agrees with me. But all right, let me get into the next matchup. We've got DeWayne McBride and Hendon Hooker. So I think McBride wins this one, running back out of UAB. But, there's good things about Hendon Hooker. A couple things that aren't awesome is he's 25 years old and did 3 years at Virginia Tech before going to Tennessee for the past 2 years. You know, call me a broken record, but he had a season-ending injury last year with the ACL tear in November. So that's kind of a bummer. But as far as quarterbacks go, I really enjoyed watching him. He's got like a nice touch on his throw and a pretty strong arm. That's pretty much shown by his ADOT, one of the top in the class, 11.7, and he had a 69% completion percentage. So
Good.
he's a good quarterback. In addition to that, he's also a good size. He's 6'3", 217. Played for Tennessee, and they had the most prolific offense in the SEC. So I'm pretty much into that. But it was kind of a weird offense. It was like a quick read and throw style. So he had a tendency to do like a 2 or 3 step drop back and then hit either first read, second read. So there wasn't a lot of like mental processing. And with it moving that fast, he also just kind of stood in the pocket. His footwork was decent, but it wasn't beautiful. But he was patient. Like I said, there's plenty of sense of urgency. But his ability to kind of stand in the pocket and stick with the pass game led to a lot of sacks. He had 27 sacks and 29% sack by pressure rating, which is like a huge number, way too large. So yeah, a couple of things like that make you a little bit concerned about him. But he can stride down the field. He really can get out of the pocket and run. So if he could be coached into like processing better or scrambling better, I think a lot of good could come of it. He only had 2 interceptions this last year. And in fact, his interception to touchdown rate with Tennessee was 5 interceptions to 58 touchdowns. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And he led Tennessee to, their best record since 2001. So aside from being old, he can run 430 yards on the ground. Pretty strong guy. I like him.
Yeah, my main takeaway from him, you kind of highlighted the efficiency, career high, 5 interceptions is pretty good for college. Like you highlighted, it is a strange offense. So it makes Hooker a little weird to evaluate because like he's got that weird offense and then now he has this injury. So he was already kind of going to be behind the 8 ball or the curve going in to any NFL draft. And now like the injury has just kind of like exacerbated that problem. And also the age is like a huge factor as well. So I like him too. Like he's got traits and things that like you could see working really well in the NFL. But it's just he's going to be one of those wait and see where he falls type of guys. If a team buys into him, you'll be able to tell, and they'll take him like maybe in the second. If he goes in the third or fourth, which is I think where he'll probably go, like it's worth keeping an eye on depending on where he goes.
Yeah, he could surprise for a needy team that doesn't have the capital to get a top guy. So
Yeah.
hell yeah.
All right. So going into the next one, we've got Darnell Washington, the 6th seed, against Tyler Scott, the 11 seed. I think we're going to have the tight end move on here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Washington's the man.
Yeah. Darnell Washington's a hell of a player. It'd be hard to unseat him, especially with the tight end kind of like premium or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we got Tyler Scott, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. I talked about him a few weeks ago after the combine. 5'11", 185 pounds. I didn't write down. Nope, I did. Okay, so he's got a 4.4440, which is pretty good for his size. Really good burst score, 94th percentile. Is only 46th percentile in speed score. So we kind of wanted like a little more speed from him, especially given like the 5'11", 185 stature. But he's a player, man. 54 receptions, 899 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's super explosive. You can see that in the burst score. He pops up off the line. He's just fun to watch. And like if you listen to this podcast, you'll get this little joke. Player Profiler compares him to Sterling Shepard. So you know that I'm in on him because Sterling Shepard is a hill I'll never get off of. In fact, my boy just signed another contract with the Giants. Let's go, Sterling Shepard.
1 year.
Anyway,
1 year.
Tyler Scott, there's a few little areas that like he could kind of work on. He's not like the craziest route runner. That needs to be polished a little bit. A 10% drop rate throughout his college career. That's something that, like is going to be worth keeping an eye on. And then he had a really, really poor grade from PFF against man coverage specifically this year. Only a 52.8 grade against man coverage, which is pretty tough. And I think it kind of goes back into that route running. Like he needs to be able to get that separation because it's essentially like if the speed doesn't help him out, it like doesn't translate to as much production. Obviously that's just a grade from a bunch of guys over at PFF, but I thought it was worth noting. I think Tyler Scott kind of moved up people's draft boards a little bit. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. I know I pitched the idea. I still kind of like the idea of reuniting him down in Atlanta with Desmond Ridder. They could use a little speed with Drake London. I know that's the easy thing to do. Just place college wide receivers with their quarterbacks. But I do think it makes sense. And I think Tyler Scott could be one of those guys that loses early in our bracket and makes a lot of noise later on.
Oh, yeah. I got a couple of guys like that. Jonathan Mingo comes to mind. Yeah. No, I haven't really gotten too deep on him, but two first names, Tyler Scott.
Yeah.
Not really going down the road. Now, obviously, he was part of that awesome Cincinnati squad from last year, so I'll put him to the Colts, man. Reunite him with Alec Pierce, right?
Hey, there we go.
So, the other side of that argument. Okay, well, let's see. It's I guess we're going to throw out our favorite term. This is the penultimate profile for the night. We're going with Tucker Kraft. If you don't know, he is a 22-year-old tight end out of South Dakota State. So he's a bigger guy for a football player, right? 6'5", 254. That's probably average. Kind of small. Who knows? But he's playing in a small school, so he's able to light it up. Spoiler alert, the cat's out of the bag. Had an injury, shortened junior year, ankle this time. So we're kind of moving all over the lower extremities with my dudes. But yeah, I think it kind of came onto the scene through the combine. I didn't really know too much about him beforehand. He didn't blow us away with any of his metrics, but he wasn't like the top 10, top 7 for pretty much everything. So now teams are aware of his athleticism. Comes back from the injury and runs a 4.69 40, which is like 73rd percentile. And I don't know. He comes out and he's doing all right. His last full season was fairly productive in 2021, his sophomore year. He had 770 yards and 6 touchdowns, and his tape is pretty legit. I like the way he runs his routes. It's pretty good. He's got like a nuanced step and sneaky moves, so he's kind of like a little more jittery than you'd expect out of a tight end, and it kind of helps him get separation down the field. And obviously that's what you want as a pass catcher. But then when he does get the ball, he plays really strong. He kind of wrecks through tacklers, kind of guy that always gets an extra 3 yards through the tackle, or he's breaking contact and then using that average speed to kind of run off. So yeah, I think that he's gonna probably make a name for himself at the next level, mostly because he's a well-rounded player, really good blocker, but he also has that plus receiving ability. And he does good inline work where he does a block, delays a defender, and then rubs off and gets open downfield. So very versatile. But I don't want you guys to hear what I'm not saying. I don't think he's going to be amazing, okay? Dallas Goedert came out of South Dakota State a few years back, and the guy had like 2,900 yards in college. And this is not the same story. That is not really a possibility of that happening. So I like Kraft. I'm not super in love with them. I think coming from a smaller program to top out at, less than 800 yards in your best season. Doesn't really do too much and not really have anything super special at the combine. Doesn't move him up a notch either. So that's why, to me, he easily loses to Will Levis because we're doing super flex, baby. So the tournament just happens to have rolled on him.
Yeah. And, I think had he had this combine and, the other tight ends maybe disappointed, he moves up. But, the tight end class just as a whole relatively, crushed the combine. So, like you're saying, he almost just, yeah, cool. Now we know what you can do. But, now here are all these guys that also can do that. And they kind of had more production than you and played at bigger schools. So I do think he kind of still gets lost in that shuffle. But I think, any of these guys, if they land up in the right spot, I like this tight end group a lot. There's a lot of different skill sets that could be well, and Kraft is one of those guys for sure. Moving on, did you have something else? Okay, cool. Yeah, so moving on to our final matchup of the day of our Wednesday, Sean Tucker versus Deneric Prince. I think it's Deneric. Running back out of Tulsa. I think Sean Tucker takes this. How you feeling about that?
Absolutely, man.
Okay.
Hey, orange helmet and the orange bracket, you got to give it to him, man.
That's true.
That's fair. Well, I don't know if he'll take the whole thing. Next week against Jahmyr Gibbs will be pretty tough for him. But talking about Deneric Prince, running back out of Tulsa, like I said, 6 foot tall, 216 pounds, 22.9 years old. Had a 4.140, which is really, really good. Puts him at 70th percentile burst score and 96th percentile for speed score.
Nice.
So for that size, he is just hauling absolute ass. Really, really good size and speed combination. Good burst. It gives him a lot of juice when he hits the hole. It's kind of weird because he only had 126 attempts, 729 yards. It's over 5 yards a carry. That's good. 5 touchdowns. Yeah, we'd like to see that more. 84 receiving yards. That is poopy. We want to see a lot more of that. But I was curious with that size and that speed. I wanted to see more broken tackles, and I didn't see that. But then you look, and like I said, he only had 126 attempts. So then I really broke it down to yards after contact per attempt instead of doing just yards after contact. And he was sitting right around 3.4, which put him a smidge, just a little bit behind Kendre Miller. So for the 30s, yeah, in the 30s for the whole league from this last year. So he was getting yards after the contact. He was doing it. His highlights are truly spicy, guys. That size and speed combination really, really pop on screen. Problem is you can't really find much more than highlights. The normal site I used for film didn't have any, so went to YouTube, found a couple. So I don't have a ton of weaknesses that I actually saw. But he's never had more than 1,000 yards in a season. He's never had more than 5 touchdowns. For a guy running that fast at that size, you really want to see that. But, not a lot of work. I guess, do we have a Dameon Pierce situation where he's not getting used and should be? Granted, Dameon Pierce kind of didn't crush the combine, so this would be a little bit different. I don't know. I think Prince has a pretty good path to starting in the NFL. It's really going to depend on if somebody believes in him and where he lands, because that side and speed combination is pretty good, but you would like to see more production out of a guy like that.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't have crap on him, man. That's very strange.
Right? Tulsa was ranked at some point this year too, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Why do they just have 0 on this guy? But crazy. I don't know. He's an intriguing. He's definitely there's a flag up in my brain. I'm paying attention to where he lands for sure.
Found money. Love it. Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you got to do a running back today.
Sorry, man.
I got robbed on the running back game.
Speaking of which, our last matchup.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
There you go. Take that one away.
Yeah, you want to do the preview for that?
Oh man, this one was tough.
It was
The bye
tough.
weeks almost tripped up the
Coming
number
in
2 guy.
strong in the orange bracket.
I'm telling
the
you,
bye weeks.
fearless like a freight train.
Damn. Do you want to do a preview on the bye real quick? Or?
Yeah. So the bye week's coming at us. It did what it was meant to do. Like it actually had 100% effective efficiency as being a bye week. It was a placeholder, and it 100% just existed until it didn't need to. It was
Which is
awesome.
pretty impressive considering it's undersized for a bye
You know
week.
what? I bet that every team's going to end up with a bye week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So it's going to be highly sought after at the next level.
All right. I think.
All right.
Here, if you're on the YouTube, I'll give you the bracket. There we go. I'll give you the quick rundown into the round of 32 before we wrap this episode up. So moving on, we got Jaxon Smith-Njigba. We got Josh Downs. That'll be a matchup next week in the round of 32, followed by Tanks Bigsby and DeWayne McBride. Running back battle there. Darnell Washington versus Will Levis. Got a tight end and quarterback. And then another running back matchup in Sean Tucker and Jahmyr Gibbs. And all right, man. That's it. That's
Exciting stuff.
the
Yeah.
region, the first region. And we'll be here on Sunday with the blue region,
It's going to be great.
which is crazy because I hear in Australia it's actually the green region.
Oh my goodness.
But that's only if you flip the map upside down.
I heard it was yellow.
Oh, shit.
Maybe that's in the Canadians.
It's only when the toilet
Jesus.
flushes the other way, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That does happen. That shit's crazy.
Yeah, that shit is crazy. I thought it was going to come out.
Yeah, only in Europe, man. It's on the day. All right. We'll see you later, guys.
Have a good day.